Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the snowy mountains of Japan, there lived an elderly couple. They were humble and poor, but they had kind hearts and lived a peaceful life. One cold winter morning, the old man decided to go into town to sell firewood. His goal was to earn a little money to buy rice for the New Year celebration. As he walked along the snow-covered path, the biting wind made him shiver. His clothes were old and thin, but he kept moving forward with determination. After hours of walking, he finally reached the marketplace. However, no one seemed interested in buying his firewood. People were rushing around, busy with their own preparations for the holiday. Disappointed but not defeated, the old man began his long journey home. Along the way, he passed by a row of 6 stone Jizo statues. These statues, often seen in Japan, are believed to be protectors of travelers, children, and the weak. They stood there silently, their stone faces covered in snow. The sight of the statues touched the old man's heart. He noticed that their heads were bare, and the snow seemed to weigh heavily on them. Feeling a deep sense of compassion, he decided to do something, even though he had little to give. He thought to himself, if I can't buy rice for my wife and me, perhaps I can still help these statues feel warm. The old man had a few pieces of straw left in his bag. He carefully wove the straw into small hats, one for each of the Jizo statues. His fingers were cold, and the work was slow, but he didn't stop. One by one he placed the hats on the heads of the Jizo statues. When he finished, he bowed deeply to the statues and said, I hope these hats will protect you from the snow, even just a little. With that, he continued his journey home. His heart was light, despite the heavy snowstorm. The old man had given all he could, even when he had so little. Little did he know, this simple act of kindness would change his life in the most unexpected way. As the old man trudged through the snow on his way home, he couldn't help but think about the Jizo statues. Though they were just stone figures, he felt a deep connection to them. In his mind, they represented something pure and sacred, guardians watching over the weary and the vulnerable. The thought of leaving them exposed to the harsh winter was unbearable. Earlier that day, when he first entered the town, he had hoped to sell enough firewood to buy a few basic necessities. His wife had sewn a small pouch to hold the coins they hoped to earn. Yet the old man didn't complain when no one bought his firewood. Instead, he focused on what he could still do, making the straw hats for the Jizo statues. The straw he used was not meant for crafting hats. It was originally tied around the firewood to hold it together. But as he walked past the statues, his heart swelled with compassion, and he immediately decided to untie the bundle. He could always find another way to secure the firewood, but the statues needed protection from the snow right now. One by one he crafted the hats with his rough, weathered hands. He wasn't skilled at weaving, and the hats were simple, even clumsy. Yet he poured his heart into every knot and fold. Each hat was a symbol of his care, his respect for the statues, and his belief in helping those in need, even if they were made of stone. As he placed each hat on the Jizo statues, he whispered words of comfort, as though speaking to living beings. You must be cold. Please, wear this hat and stay warm. I don't have much to offer, but I hope this helps you through the storm." By the time he finished, his hands were numb from the cold, and his body was tired. Yet, his heart felt warm, knowing he had done something meaningful. Despite the harshness of his own life, the old man's spirit was filled with gratitude and peace. His simple act of kindness reflected a core truth of his life, that helping others, even when you have little yourself, brings a joy that nothing else can match. This was the essence of the old man's generosity, giving without expecting anything in return. The old man finally arrived home, his steps slow and heavy as the snowstorm grew fiercer. His wife greeted him at the door, her worried face lighting up with relief. "You're back. I was so worried about you in this weather," she said, helping him remove his snow-covered coat. He smiled gently, though his face showed his exhaustion. "I couldn't sell the firewood today," he admitted, "but I came across the Jizo statues on the way home. They looked so cold standing there in the snow. I used the straw from the firewood to make them hats." His wife listened quietly, her expression softening. She nodded and said, "What a kind thing to do. The Jizo protect us all, and your offering will surely be appreciated." Although they had no special meal for the new year, they shared a simple bowl of porridge and gave thanks for having each other and a warm home. That night, as the snowstorm continued to howl outside, something extraordinary began to happen. The 6 Jizo statues, now wearing their straw hats, seemed to come to life. Though their stone faces remained expressionless, a mysterious glow surrounded them. Silently, they began to move, walking through the snow toward the old man's humble home. Inside, the old couple had fallen asleep, unaware of the magical visitors approaching their door. The Jizo carried bundles of gifts, rice, vegetables, cloth, and other items that the couple desperately needed but could never afford. They placed the gifts neatly outside the door, their movements quiet and deliberate, so as not to disturb the sleeping couple. As the Jizo finished their work, the first light of dawn began to peek over the horizon. The snowstorm had subsided, leaving the village covered in a sparkling white blanket. The Jizo stood silently once more, their glowing forms fading back into cold, unmoving stone. The straw hats, however, remained on their heads, a reminder of the old man's kindness. When the old man and his wife awoke, they opened their door to find the piles of gifts waiting for them. Their eyes widened in astonishment, and the old man whispered, "It must be the Jizo. They've blessed us for the hats." The couple knelt in gratitude, bowing deeply toward the direction of the Jizo statues. Tears filled their eyes, not just because of the abundance before them, but because they felt the profound power of kindness and gratitude in their lives. The old man and his wife couldn't believe their eyes. In front of their modest home, neatly arranged in the snow, were bundles of treasures they had never dreamed of owning. There were sacks of rice, enough to last them for months, fresh vegetables and fruit, so rare in the winter, were piled high. Beautiful bolts of fabric lay beside them, along with gold coins wrapped in small pouches. The old man turned to his wife, his voice trembling with emotion. This must be the work of the Jizo. They have shown us their gratitude for the hats. Can you imagine? Stone statues bringing us such gifts. His wife nodded, tears streaming down her face. It's a miracle, she said softly. You gave them everything you could, even when we had so little. And now they've given us more than we could ever ask for. The couple carried the gifts inside, their hands trembling, not from the cold but from joy and gratitude. They carefully laid everything on the small wooden table, marveling at each item. The rice was the finest quality they had ever seen, and the fabric was soft and colorful, unlike anything they had ever owned. For the first time in years, the old man and his wife prepared a feast to celebrate the new year. They cooked the rice, boiled the vegetables, and even made a small soup with the ingredients they now had. The aroma filled their tiny home, and for once they felt the warmth of abundance. As they ate, they reflected on what had happened. The old man said, "It's not about the gifts themselves. What touches me most is the kindness behind them." The Jizo reminded us that even the smallest act of compassion can create a ripple of goodness. His wife added, "And their gratitude shows us the power of giving without expecting anything in return. You made those hats with nothing but love and care, and look at how they've repaid us." That evening, the couple decided to share their good fortune with their neighbors. They packed small portions of rice and vegetables and went door to door, giving what they could to others in the village. The Jizo have blessed us, they explained, and we want to pass their kindness along. The villagers were astonished and deeply moved by the couple's generosity. Some even went to visit the Jizo statues themselves, bowing in gratitude and admiration for the miraculous story they had heard. Through this simple act of sharing, the old man and his wife's joy grew even greater. Their home, once a place of scarcity, had become a beacon of kindness and community. The story of the old man, his wife, and the Jizo statues holds profound lessons that resonate far beyond the snowy mountains of Japan. It's not merely a tale about receiving gifts. It's a reminder of the deep power of kindness, selflessness, and gratitude. The first lesson we can take from this story is the beauty of compassion. The old man had very little to give, yet he didn't hesitate to offer what he could to the Jizo statues. His act wasn't grand or costly. It was a simple gesture of care, born out of his genuine concern for others. This teaches us that kindness doesn't require wealth or extravagance. Even the smallest acts, like weaving a hat out of straw, can have a profound impact. The second lesson is about giving without expecting anything in return. The old man didn't make the hats for recognition or reward. He gave purely out of love and respect. In modern life, we often find ourselves thinking about what we'll gain when we give, whether it's appreciation, a favor in return, or even just a thank you. This story reminds us that the most meaningful acts of kindness are those done selflessly, with no strings attached. Another important teaching lies in the gratitude of the Jizo statues. While the statues may be seen as mythical figures, their actions symbolize the idea that the universe often reflects our intentions back to us. When we act with a pure heart, the goodness we share has a way of returning to us, often in unexpected and miraculous ways. It may not always come as piles of gifts outside our door, but it might appear as warmth, connection, or peace in our lives. From a Buddhist perspective, this story embodies the principle of karma. The old man's actions were rooted in generosity and compassion, and the positive energy he created came back to him in abundance. It's a reminder that our choices and actions shape the world around us, both for ourselves and for others. Finally, the couple's decision to share their blessings with the village shows us the power of spreading kindness. They could have kept everything for themselves, but they understood that joy multiplies when it's shared. This is a valuable lesson for us today. In a world that often feels divided, acts of generosity can bring people together and create a ripple effect of goodwill. The story of the Jizo and the old couple is simple, yet its teachings are timeless. It encourages us to reflect on how we approach kindness in our own lives. Are we giving freely, or are we holding back? Are we seeking gratitude, or are we practicing it? These are questions worth pondering as we navigate our daily lives. The story of the old man and the Jizo statues, though set in a distant past, offers lessons that are deeply relevant to our modern lives. In today's world, where technology connects us but often leaves us feeling isolated, the simple values of kindness and generosity can bring profound change. One way to apply these lessons is by practicing small acts of kindness in our daily lives. Like the old man who gave straw hats to the statues, we can offer small gestures of care to those around us. A smile, a kind word, or helping someone in need. These are not grand actions, but they can brighten someone's day in ways we might not even realize. Another way to embody the story's message is to embrace the idea of giving without expecting anything in return. This can be challenging in a fast-paced, results-driven world, where we often measure success by what we gain. However, true fulfillment comes from the joy of giving itself. Whether it's helping a neighbor, donating to a cause, or simply listening to a friend, these acts of selflessness can create a ripple effect of positivity. Gratitude, too, is an essential part of living out the Jizo story's teachings. In our busy lives, it's easy to focus on what we lack, rather than appreciating what we have. The old couple's deep gratitude for the gifts they received reminds us to pause and give thanks for even the simplest blessings. A roof over our heads, a meal to eat, or the kindness of others. In the context of community, the couple's decision to share their blessings teaches us the importance of connection. In modern society, it's easy to become isolated, each person focused on their own challenges. But when we share what we have, whether it's resources, time, or even just encouragement, we strengthen the bonds that hold us together. This creates a sense of belonging and reminds us that we're not alone. From a broader perspective, the principle of karma that the story illustrates can guide us in how we interact with the world. Our actions, no matter how small, have consequences. When we act with kindness and integrity, we contribute to a cycle of positivity. This isn't about seeking rewards, but about creating a world where compassion is the norm. Lastly, the story challenges us to see value in the unseen. The old man didn't view the Jizo statues as lifeless stones. He saw them as figures worthy of care and respect. Similarly, we can cultivate mindfulness in how we treat the world around us. Whether it's protecting nature, respecting traditions, or showing kindness to strangers, these actions reflect our recognition of the interconnectedness of all things. As you reflect on this story, ask yourself, how can I bring more compassion into my life? How can I give freely, show gratitude, and share joy? These are not abstract ideals. They are practices we can embrace every day, in small and meaningful ways. Like the old man, you may find that even the simplest act of kindness can lead to extraordinary blessings. And just as the Jizo statues stood as silent witnesses to the old man's generosity, the world will quietly reflect the goodness you offer. The story of the Jizo and the old couple is not just a tale from the past. It's an invitation to live with open hearts and generous spirits today and every day. Thank you for spending your time with me today and for reflecting on this beautiful story. If this tale of kindness, gratitude, and connection resonated with you, I would be truly grateful if you could show your support by giving this video a thumbs up. It helps us share more inspiring stories like this with others who might need a little light in their day. If you'd like to hear more timeless stories or explore insights that can bring calm and wisdom into your life, I encourage you to check out the other videos on this channel. Each one is crafted with care to offer moments of reflection, peace, and inspiration. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. By subscribing, you'll join a growing community of kind-hearted people seeking wisdom from stories and teachings like this one. You'll also be notified whenever a new video is posted, so you never miss an opportunity to take a moment of calm for yourself. Thank you again for watching. May kindness and peace be with you always. I look forward to sharing more stories with you soon. Take care.